Hi everybody, it's Karen Combs from Karen Combs Studio. Welcome to Quilting Tips. Today we're going to look at needles and thread specifically for machine piecing. I often get asked in classes what are my favorites, so I wanted to share some with you. Let's look at the needles first. This is what I love to use for my machine piecing. They are denim needles, which you might think, why is she using denim needles for piecing? But you'll notice that they're a 70-10, so they're very fine, but being denim needles, they're extremely sharp. So they pierce the fabric and leave a very small hole. And you can see in the close-up here, it's got an extremely sharp point, but being a denim needle, they're very strong. Remember to change your needle with every project. Listen when you're sewing. If you hear a faint popping noise as you're piecing, that means you have a dull needle. Now, as far as my favorite piecing thread, well, let me show you what not to use. This is a wonderful thread, Metler, and it says quilting on it, but this isn't quilting thread that you use for piecing. This is quilting thread that you use when you're hand quilting. It's too thick, and I did a side-by-side comparison that you see here. You can see the thread on the left is a little bit thicker. I like to use a 50 weight thread. Let me show you some that I enjoy using. And we'll talk about the colors in just a minute. But you can see we have a variety of threads. I really enjoy using Masterpiece by Superior Threads. It's a 50 weight 3-ply cotton, very strong. Now you'll notice the colors. I've got light, medium, and dark gray. Let me show you how I determine which one I'm going to use. So we've got some fabrics here. Well, let's just say I'm going to use these in a quilt. What I like to do is take each one of those threads. So here's the light gray. Do you see how it just kind of disappears on some of the fabrics, but on other ones it shows a little more? Here's the medium gray. So that just helps me determine which one I'm going to use. Here's dark gray, and you can see it really shows up, so I probably wouldn't use dark gray. I would probably use the medium or the light for this project if these were the colors I was using. But what happens if maybe I add a darker purple? Now again, I do the same thing. Just kind of test and see the color. Probably do the medium gray for that. And let's say I'm going to do a quilt with darker pieces. Let me just show you that. Here's our dark thread, and you can see how it disappears a little better in the darker fabrics. So that's what I like to do when I'm testing my colors. I like to buy my thread in a larger cone. You can see they're available in spools, and those work well, but I like to buy them in a larger cone. It's more economical, and since I'm using the same color for pretty much the whole project, I just stick with a larger cone. If you are using a cone rather than a spool in your project, well, you need to have a thread stand, and you can see here I have a picture of mine. If you're handy, or you have somebody in your family or maybe a friend that's handy, you can see in this picture where I've broken it out, you can see the pieces, and then you just put them back together, and it makes a very handy thread stand. You can also purchase thread stands. The reason you need one is because this cone will not fit on your sewing machine. You need to have a holder. Now, I have seen people use a mug, and they put the thread in the mug and put it on their sewing machine, and you can see a picture here how it's threaded. You can see it's threaded through a safety pin. That works all right, but be careful, because if this is being pulled and this jerks it all because you're sewing fast, it could cause thread breakage or tension problems. Another option I've seen, you'll see the picture here, that is a mug, a travel mug, and you've got the thread coming up right through the middle of it. That, again, you're going to use with a safety pin. Again, just check and make sure you're not having tension problems or you're having any thread breakage or skipped stitches. let's look at the thread stand. Alright, over here to my sewing machine, and you can see I've got the travel mug and I've got a smaller cone inside, and I have threaded the thread right through the top where the straw goes. Now you've got one more step. As you bring this over, you're going to need to put a safety pin, and I've just taped mine, and then I have threaded the thread through the hole at the end of the safety pin. That will just help guide it, and then you thread your machine as normal. The problem you have is the thread is going from lower of the machine up to the safety pin, and it could cause problems with the tension, could cause skip stitches. Just test it and see. Now let me show you my thread stand, which I have used for many years, and that's what I really prefer, because what it does is it brings the thread from the cone up above and then brings it out to the machine. So you won't have as much problem with skip stitches, messed up tension, thread breakage, anything like that. So the thread stand is what I prefer, but you can give the other methods a try as well. I hope these tips have helped you. Please be sure to like my video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Be sure to check out my other videos and my webpage. You can find the link to my webpage and my other social media pages in the information below.